Okay, so now in this part, what we want to do is we want to move from what we have over here, which is the general form, and we want to move to the standard form. So just remember this equation, x squared plus y squared plus 4x plus 2y minus 20 is equal to 0. And let's write it down over here. X squared plus y squared plus 4y plus, plus 4x plus 2y, and let's make sure that we've got it correctly, minus 20 is equal to 0. Now, again, let's remember what this thing is over here. This here is called the general form, right? General form. What we want is, we want the standard form. Now, why is the standard form useful? Let's quickly write down what the standard form is. Standard form is x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared. Right? And this is useful because I can read off the center. We can read off the coordinates of the center and easily determine the radius and det the radius. Right. So the question is, how do I move from the one to the other? How do I move from this form over here to the other form? So let's just write down that equation here. I've got x squared plus y squared plus 4x plus 2y minus 20 is equated to 0. Well, the solution is we actually got to do something you learned in grade 11 or even in grade 10, and that is called completing the square. We must complete the what? The square. So how do I complete the square? Well, simple. There's a few steps to it. I've got to get x. If the coefficient of x is just 1, all I need to do is I need to rearrange the terms a little bit, make it a little bit nicer. So I'm going to take x squared plus 4x. I'm going to leave a little bit of a space here, and then I'm going to say plus y squared plus 2y, and I'm going to take over or add 20 to both sides. I'm going to take this over and I'm going to get positive 20 over there. Now, did I do anything? I didn't really do much except get the constant to the other side, and then I moved the terms around a little bit, and of course that does not affect the equation. So what do I do now? Well, I look at the coefficient of the linear term. The coefficient of the linear term, so this is a linear term because this is raised to the power of 1, 4x, and I half it. So half of 4 is going to be plus 4 divided by 2, which is just going to be positive 2. If the term was minus 8x, then half of minus 8 is minus 8 over 2, which is just minus 4. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to say, let's add half the coefficient of the linear terms. So half of that is going to be 2. I'm going to square it. And half of this linear term here is going to be 1. And I'm going to square that. Now the big question is, if I look carefully, this is an equation. So whatever I do to the one side, I must do to the other side. So let's do it here. Plus 2 squared plus 1 squared. And what do I get now? Well, the next step is simply to factorize this. So let's do it in black, and I'm going to say, well, we take the square root of that, and we take the square root of that, and we put it there. And similarly, square root of this term, and square root of that term. And then I can add all of this up. 2 squared is 4, 1 squared is 1, so 4 plus 1 is 5, and 20 plus 5 is going to give me 25. And so what do I do over here? Well, I'm just going to say y, keep the sign of this middle term, or whatever sign you've put in there. That in this case is going to be positive 1. Right, and on this side I've got x, and that's going to be positive 2. Now you can go away and multiply this out again and convince yourself it's true and play around with a few different factorization tools, but there you can see we've gone from the general form, which is x squared plus y squared plus 4x plus 2y minus 20 is equated to 0 for the specific example, and I've moved on to turning that into the standard form. Now the standard form is useful because if I've got it in standard form, I can just say the center for this circle is going to be minus 2 and minus 1, and its radius is going to be the square root of whatever's on this side, which is 25, and therefore the radius is 5. Okay, that's from general form to the standard form. And so now we're going to move on to tackling that question, and it's probably going to be the same thing. So I suggest you tackle the question, which is over here. I suggest you tackle this question. Determine the coordinates of the center. Determine the coordinates of the center and the length of the radius of this circle. And as you can see, this is in the general form, so what you need to do is convert it to the standard form, which is what we'll do in the next video. Convert to standard